The scanner's lights flickered the moment Kalen stepped into the ring, a soft red glow pulsing like a warning heartbeat. Alien cadets shifted uneasily. "System glitch," the instructor muttered. "Ignore it." The scanner disagreed. With a sharp digital chirp, it displayed a message the class had never seen before. Earthborn detected reflex profile unmodeled. A ripple of murmurs spread through the room. "Humans always break equipment," someone whispered. Instructor Sovalek sighed, lifted his leg for a simple demonstration kick, and froze as Kalen's hand closed around his ankle mid-air. Kalen hadn't even looked at him. The scanner beeped once, frantically, then crashed. Kalen blinked. "Sorry, was that the test?" The instructor slowly pulled his leg back. "Begin advanced indexing," he whispered. 3 days earlier, Kalen Ward had stepped off the shuttle onto Helion Academy's windswept landing platform, with nothing more than a standard-issue duffel and an expression caught somewhere between curiosity and fatigue. He didn't move like a soldier or a scientist. He just stood there, watching the alien silhouettes bustle and scurry beneath a sky crowded with satellites and defense rings. The air smelled faintly metallic, processed, artificial, and something about it made his skin itch slightly, as though the planet hadn't entirely decided to be hospitable. "Name?" A four-eyed cadet to his left asked nervously, holding a biometric reader. "Kalen Ward," he said, offering a casual nod. "From Earth." That last part seemed unnecessary. As he stepped past, others stared, a mix of awe, suspicion, and poorly hidden anxiety. He caught murmurs behind him. The word human hissed between languages like a static burst. Earthborn acceleration, reflexes. Heard they see time differently. Dangerous if startled. Kalen just kept walking. The Helion Cross-Species Defense Academy was a marvel of interstellar architecture spires that looked grown instead of built, open-air graviton elevators, and a training hall large enough to run a full mech battalion through combat drills. But it wasn't the view or the facilities that caught Kalen's eye. It was the way everyone kept glancing at him sideways, even the instructors, like he might spontaneously combust if provoked. "Cadets," Instructor Sovalek announced the following morning, his gill ridge flaring as he addressed the assembled group. "Welcome to reflex indexing. This is a standard evaluation. It is not combat. It is not graded. It simply measures." He gestured toward the raised circular pad in the center of the training dome. "You will enter the ring alone. A low-level threat pattern will be executed slow, deliberate, and fully visible. You respond. The scanner tracks latency." A holographic screen flickered to life beside him, cycling through visual data of previous cadets reacting to simulated attacks. Dodges, blocks, flinches, freezes, all carefully monitored. "No one fails," Sovalek said, "but you will be logged. Reflex rating determines placement." The alien cadets nodded, some nervously. A few stretched their limbs, others flexed nervously, vibrating appendages. Kalen leaned against the wall, watching. One by one, cadets stepped into the ring. A slender Sarathi female tried first. The scanner pinged, a drone arm moved, she hesitated, then swatted at it a moment too late. Rating, 3.2. Next, a bulky Jarnox male squared up. The scanner launched a mild pulse toward his chest. He flinched sideways and stumbled. Rating, 2.9. A beetle-like Ildran coiled, trying to outguess the drone's motion, and ended up blocking too early. Rating, 4.1. Most landed somewhere between 2.5 and 4.5. Each one stepped away with a mix of relief and embarrassment. No injuries, no praise, just a number. Then Instructor Sovalek called out, "Ward, human." The room stilled. Kalen stepped forward, rolling his shoulders once before, walking into the scanner ring. That was when the lights dimmed. The scanner chirped. A low-pitched tone vibrated under the flooring. For the first time, the machine's holo-display lit up not with a countdown, but with a red warning header. Earthborn detected reflex profile unmodeled. A few cadets whispered nervously. Instructor Sovalek stared at the screen, then at Kalen. He tried to wave off the concern with an exhale. Likely a database oversight. Earth data is fragmented. To prove the point, he stepped forward into the ring himself. "I will perform a basic calibration strike," he said, lifting one leg casually, just to reset the... Kalen's hand closed around his ankle midair. He hadn't looked. His shoulders hadn't moved. Just one arm, calm and surgical, locking the instructor in place like catching a falling twig. Sovalek's other foot wobbled. He remained balanced only because Kalen wasn't pulling, just holding, gently. The scanner beeped again, then began flashing corrupted symbols across the screen. Error. Overflow. Rebooting. A full reboot. Sovalek eased his leg back. The other cadets looked at each other. Kalen rubbed the back of his neck. Sorry, was that the test? The instructor blinked. Begin advanced indexing. What followed wasn't so much a test as a spectacle. Sovalek called for faint routines. He struck high, low, diagonal. The system activated multi-point stimuli, blinking lights, hissing vents, sound decoys. The goal was to confuse Kalen's senses. He blocked everything. Not just quickly, casually. His limbs didn't snap like trained responses, they floated into the right places with unsettling ease, as though his body anticipated each motion before it happened. The scanner struggled, numbers flashed, hesitated, disappeared. At one point, it registered a negative latency score. What does that mean? Someone whispered. It means the machine thinks he reacted before the attack started, another cadet muttered. The adaptive drone activated itself, a sleek, multi-limbed orb hovering into the ring without command. It scanned Kalen silently, its targeting optics flickering. Then, it hesitated. Instead of launching into a randomized strike pattern, it paused mid-air. A new warning flashed on its chest plate. Pattern match detected, human variant. Unknown. Instructor Sovalek staggered back. That's not possible. The drone's classified database doesn't contain Earth reflex patterns. The drone buzzed uncertainly, then lunged. And Kalen moved. Not violently, not fearfully. He spun with the drone's motion, redirecting its momentum with a twist of his torso, guiding it smoothly into the wall like a parent correcting a child's overzealous hug. The drone crumpled harmlessly, power core intact, no damage. But it did not get back up. The cadet stepped away. Humans break everything, someone whispered again, quieter this time. Later that evening, behind sealed doors, Helion Academy's senior staff gathered in the archive tower. Sovalek stood at the center, rewatching the playback. We've seen nothing like this, he said. His reflex signature triggered a legacy protocol buried in our drone AI. A green-scaled administrator narrowed his eyes. Legacy protocol from where? Unknown. But it classified him under a match designation, which implies historical precedent. Are you suggesting humans were encountered by ancient systems? The Chancellor asked. I'm saying, either someone fed the combat AI old human profiles, or Kalen Ward's reflexes match something we once considered extinct. The room fell silent. Update his designation, the Chancellor finally ordered, effective immediately. The next morning, cadet boards updated across the academy. Next to Kalen's name, a new status glowed. Reflex tier. Dangerous if startled. Kalen sipped his protein packet and stared at it. Oh, he said softly, neat. Behind him, 3 cadets changed their seats. He didn't blame them. Neither did he understand why the adaptive drone's last recording had whispered something the scanner couldn't quite parse aloud just before impact. A low, garbled phrase buried deep in its subcode. Pattern, match, Earth variant, not extinct. Kalen frowned and looked out the window, where stars flickered between orbital debris and defense grids. He didn't remember Earth producing anything extinct. But then again, he didn't remember a lot about where he came from. And neither, it seemed, did the machines. Cadet meals at the Helion Academy weren't known for conversation, but ever since Kalen's reflex scan incident, silence took on a different quality. Less boredom, more tension. Fewer jokes, more wide-eyed glances. Even the cafeteria drones paused an extra fraction of a second when approaching his table, as if double-checking their tray angle wouldn't trigger some unseen tripwire in the human nervous system. Kalen stirred his nutrient mash with the enthusiasm of a man microwaving oatmeal for the 3rd time in a week. A few seats away, a group of Korlani cadets whispered in their throat-pitched language, eyes flitting between him and their slates. One of them held up a recording paused on the exact moment he caught Sovalek's kick. Great, viral already. Is this seat? The voice came from behind. Kalen turned slightly. A thin-bodied alien with translucent skin and faint bioluminescence gestured to the chair across from him. Taken? Kalen shrugged. Not if you're not planning to kick me. The cadet sat with a chuckle, folding multiple arms over the table in what Kalen guessed was a polite posture, I'm Thrin, observation track. I just wanted to say what you did in the ring. That was something. Thanks, Kalen said, unsure how to respond. Thrin tilted his head. The instructor's kick, you didn't see it, but you caught it. No muscle flinch beforehand, no eye shift. How? Kalen stabbed at his mash again. I don't know. It's like I don't decide to move. I just do. Like hearing a noise and turning before you even realize you heard it. Thrin blinked all 6 eyelids slowly. I don't think that's normal for any species. Kalen gave a tired half smile. Apparently not. The mess hall lights flickered. Every cadet turned to look, not out of surprise, but instinct. On the outer wall, a priority message blazed across the Academy schedule display. All cadets. Adaptive combat drone recalibration in progress. Reflex testing schedule temporarily suspended. A collective groan spread across the room. Well, Thrin said, rising with his tray. At least you're not the only one breaking things now. Kalen watched him go. But the message on the wall kept blinking. The longer he stared at it, the more it looked like it wasn't just a pause, it was a warning. Behind sealed doors below the Academy's main campus, Sovalek paced across the simulation room's observation deck, surrounded by blinking consoles and 3 increasingly worried technicians. You said the drone's combat AI pulled a legacy pattern? He asked again, voice tight. Yes, sir, one technician confirmed. We backtraced the trigger. It originated from a buried classification node within the drone's decision core, not supposed to activate unless it detects a known hostile profile. And it matched. Kalen? Not him specifically, but his reflex timing fell within variance parameters flagged as a threat class, one we've never observed in living species. Another tech added, the combat AI flagged him with a protocol last used during a Zal Reef incursion simulation. That data set is 10,000 cycles old, simulated based on presumed extinct hostiles. Sovalek's gill plates twitched. And now the drone won't calibrate. No, sir. It keeps looping, trying to reconcile his reaction curve. Every adjustment leads to deeper error states. Sovalek turned to the window. On the training floor below, the drone hovered, inert. Its target scanner pulsed silently, waiting, hoping for a variable it could model. We'll need an override, he said, and a controlled environment. Kalen wasn't expecting the message. It came through his slate just after lights out, an encrypted summons marked with the Academy's high-clearance crest. When he accepted it, a calm, modulated voice guided him to the subterranean training vaults. No explanation, no names. By the time he arrived, only Sovalek stood waiting. No guards, no audience. The ring was different this time. Smaller, dimmer, and in the center, the same drone from before but now braced into a diagnostic dock with cables feeding into the walls like veins. I thought reflex tests were suspended, Kalen said, eyeing the drone. This is not a test, Sovalek said quietly. This is a study. He stepped forward, hands clasped behind his back. The drone is no longer responding to standard protocols. It encountered your reflex signature and began comparing it against legacy threat simulations. It believes it has seen you before. Kalen folded his arms. And has it? We don't know. These simulations are built on data from ancient conflicts long before your species left Earth. But something in your neural pattern tripped the alert. So what does that mean? I'm related to some extinct war god? Sovalek didn't laugh. It means we don't understand humans as well as we thought. He gestured to the platform. Please, I'd like to observe one more interaction. Kalen hesitated, then sighed and stepped forward into the ring. The moment he did, the drone lifted slightly, optical sensors blooming open. Its entire posture changed, not aggressive, not passive, but cautious, like it didn't know if it should fight or flee. Kalen raised his palms. Not here to hurt you. The drone tilted, mimicking the motion. It emitted a single, low chirp, almost like a question. Then it lunged. Kalen moved. A blur of limbs and light, the drone spun a false strike left, but Kalen ignored the feint. He caught the real attack, a downward jab from an inner limb, and twisted it midair, guiding the drone into a rollback. He didn't strike, didn't counter. He simply moved out of the way. The drone froze. Then, almost hesitantly, it retracted its limbs and dropped to a neutral hover. Scanners dimmed. Sovalek exhaled behind the glass. Fascinating. Kalen stepped back. Did it just give up? No, Sovalek said. It recalibrated. It learned not to attack. Because I didn't attack it? Because your non-aggression was faster than its threat assessment could update, you beat it by not fighting, and it recognized you weren't a target but something it couldn't outpace. Kalen ran a hand through his hair. So now what? Sovalek turned to the side console, typing a few commands. Now, we compare that behavior across archived reflex data. See if the match runs deeper than instinct. The room darkened as the display screen filled with side-by-side recordings. Kalen's moves on one side, grainy black and white combat footage on the other. The opposing image showed another humanoid figure, blurry, anonymous, making eerily similar redirections against drone simulations. Kalen leaned closer. Who is that? Sovalek didn't answer right away. We don't know, he said eventually. The footage was recovered from an ancient derelict ship near the Veiled Spiral. It predates most modern archives. Human form, impossible reaction times, no genetic trace recovered. So you think I'm like him? We don't think anything yet, but the machines seem to. The drone behind them made a soft noise, a low harmonic hum, like a song fragment. Both men turned. On the drone's display, new text blinked into view. Pattern match, 97.6% similarity. Designation, mirror. Sovalek looked troubled. It's assigning you a match name. Kalen didn't respond. He just watched the screen as the number rose again. Similarity, 97.8%. The image on the right blurred too damaged to resolve fully, but something in the posture was familiar. A stance, a turn of the head. Kalen couldn't say how he knew. But he had seen that figure before. Not in real life. Not in dreams. In muscle memory. Back in the barracks, the other cadets avoided him more openly. Conversation stopped when he entered. Chairs scooted away. Even Thrin offered a polite nod from across the room, but didn't approach. Kalen collapsed onto his bunk, staring at the underside of the top bunk above him. Somewhere deep in the Academy's database, a simulation was being rerun. An old battle. An unknown fighter. A profile the machines were never meant to remember. And now, somehow, Kalen was overlaying it. Perfectly. Far across the Academy campus, in a chamber beneath the archival wing, a different kind of scanner came to life. Not military, not medical, historical. Its sensors pulsed once. A buried protocol flickered open. Match confirmed variant. Human primordial type 3. Reactivation sequence, pending. Observer status. Lifted. The drone that recorded the match was already transmitting its footage through locked channels. And something old, something forgotten began to wake. The storm over Helion Academy came without warning, high-altitude ion waves, snarling comms, slicing power to exterior grids, and forcing nearly every non-essential cadet inside. Even the orbital defense rings rerouted their patrol arcs, as if the system itself was reacting to more than just weather. Kalen stood alone near one of the reinforced observation windows. Lightning forked across the upper atmosphere, painting the clouds in blue fire. It reminded him of Earth. Not in the landscape, the clouds here were too thick, the sky too pale, but in the way chaos had a rhythm. Even now, he could feel it. Something was off. The other cadets had begun treating him like a walking anomaly. Meals in silence. Sparring partners excused themselves early. Even Thrin, once curious, now gave him a respectful distance like one would a live grenade. The message on his slate hadn't helped. Reflex profile, matched variant status confirmed. Clearance level, adjusted. He hadn't asked for clearance. He hadn't asked for any of this. And yet, for the third night in a row, Sovalek summoned him below the primary campus. This time, the door wasn't guarded. It opened before he could knock. The room had changed. Gone was the standard combat drone, replaced with a far older model, dark alloy plating, exposed circuitry, and a strange, hexagonal light pattern along its frame. The word mirror now floated permanently across its scanner field, etched like a title. Sovalek stood with 3 senior instructors, all silent as Kalen entered. One of them, a taller figure with flowing robes and a face that shimmered like glass underwater, leaned forward. "You're sure he hasn't been augmented?" the figure asked softly. "No enhancements," Sovalek replied. "No implants, no grafts. His reflexes are organic." "Then how," the robed one said slowly, "does he match them?" Kalen cleared his throat. "Still here, by the way." The group turned to him. Sovalek stepped forward. "Cadet Ward, the Academy's AI has officially designated you a variant. We haven't had a match like this in the Academy's history. Kalen folded his arms. A match for what, exactly? The older instructor tapped a control panel. The wall lit up with grainy footage. It played slower than real time, an ancient black and white record of a figure moving through a battlefield. Not with brutality, with elegance. Dodging weapons before they fired, disarming drones mid-flight, disappearing between motions. Kalen watched, expression tightening. Because the figure moved exactly like him. Not similar, identical. Same shoulder tilt, same breath timing, even the weight distribution in each footfall matched. Where was this recorded? He asked. Derelict ship, recovered near the veiled spiral, Sovalek said. No crew, no logs, just this footage buried in the emergency systems. Another instructor, broad and yellow-skinned, spoke for the first time. The drone identified the movement pattern as a match to you. We cross-referenced it against all known species. Nothing else even comes close. Kalen turned back to the drone in the center of the room. It floated silently, lights dimmed. They're not scared of my reflexes, he said slowly. They're scared I remind them of someone. Something, Sovalek corrected. That night, he didn't sleep. Not for lack of trying. But something inside him buzzed like his bones remembered things his mind didn't. He lay awake in his bunk, listening to the soft breathing of other cadets, the hum of air recyclers, the distant growl of a storm. And a whisper. Not a sound, exactly. A feeling. A pull. He sat up, glancing at his slate. No new messages, no alerts. But still, something told him to move. By the time he reached the western corridor of the old observatory wing, the hallways had long emptied. This part of the academy was rarely used, mostly storage and outdated planetary maps. But as he turned the corner near the sealed relic archive, he saw it. The drone. The old one. Mirror. Hovering in the dark, waiting. It pulsed once, silently, and the door behind it slid open. Kalen hesitated only a second, then stepped inside. The room beyond wasn't part of any official schematic he'd seen. No training pads, no consoles. Just a single chair and a semicircular projection dome, flickering with dormant systems. As he entered, the drone settled into the center, embedding itself into the floor. And the room came alive. Walls lit up with recordings. Not footage. Memories. Holographic projections surrounded him, scenes of ancient skirmishes, evasions, impossible counters. All from a first-person perspective. The movements were his. Even the breathing rhythm. He watched from the eyes of someone or something that moved the same way he did, not because it trained to, but because it was built that way. Kalen took a slow step forward. On one of the walls, text appeared, a language he didn't know but somehow understood. Variant class, reflexive prediction, Tier 3. Archetype, human, adjacent. Deployment, unconfirmed. Status, dormant since protocol lockdown. The room dimmed again. Then a voice spoke. Not a real voice, a synthetic one, aged and fractured. You have returned. Kalen's throat dried. I've never been here. No. But the pattern has. What pattern? The one that runs, the one that sees faster, moves smoother, the shape of survival, recorded in neural echo. Kalen tried to back away, but the room didn't let him. Instead, it projected a final image. A symbol circular, carved with 7 interlocking lines. A logo? No. A warning. Then, blackout. When he woke, he was lying in the corridor. No sign of the drone, no sign of the room. His slate blinked with a message. You were detected inside an unauthorized wing. Return to dorms. Your presence has been logged. But something was different. In his pocket, a small chip, not standard issue, rested against his palm. He didn't remember picking it up. He didn't remember anything after the symbol. At morning roll call, Kalen stood quietly at the end of the line. Eyes avoided him. Even the instructors hesitated during attendance. When they reached his name, Sovalek paused, then nodded. Present, he said for Kalen, and moved on. But Kalen noticed a new icon next to his name on the roster display, a small pulsing circle with 7 interlocked lines, the same as the symbol in the room. A warning. Or an identity. And when he glanced at the other cadet slates, none of them could see it. Just him. Meanwhile, Far above the Academy, in a dormant orbital array buried in the asteroid belt, an ancient system pinged awake. Deep inside its AI core, a voice that hadn't spoken in millennia formed a single line of data. Echo confirmed. Variant active. And somewhere, in a vault sealed long before Earth was mapped on galactic charts, a row of humanoid machines flickered to life. Their reflexes were already sinking, waiting for the one who had come back. By the time the orbital blackout lifted, Helion Academy had already moved Kalen to isolated quarters. Officially, it was for observation. Unofficially, the instructors had stopped pretending to understand him. He didn't resist. He'd felt the change coming since the drone first said his name. Not his real one, but the one hidden in the data. Mirror. He sat cross-legged on the floor of his new quarters, chip still clutched in his palm. He hadn't inserted it into any system. Not yet. The moment he did, he knew everything would shift again. Because the chip wasn't just memory storage. It was a key. The Academy didn't lock him in. No need. The walls weren't meant to confine someone like him. And deep down, they knew it. Kalen could still hear the way the drone had said that phrase, the one that runs, the one that sees faster. Whatever variant meant, it wasn't just about reflexes. It was something encoded. An echo written in biology. Senior Command had convened 3 times since Kalen's encounter with the memory room. Each time, the discussion veered further into uncharted territory. "We've lost control of the calibration protocols," Sovalek reported during the latest meeting. "Every combat simulator linked to the adaptive drone has begun diverting its logic cycles to pattern emulation. It's not trying to train against Kalen." "Then what is it doing?" the Chancellor asked. "It's trying to become him." Data streamed across the wall, simulation drones executing unfamiliar movements, attempting evasions and counters without being instructed. Some moved too fast for their own servos, collapsing from overextension. Instructors murmured nervously. "What are the odds this is human evolution?" one asked. "That Earth produced something like this naturally?" Sovalek shook his head. "No species evolves into classified legacy data." "Then it's pre-evolution," the Chancellor said grimly, "which means Kalen isn't a fluke. He's an echo." In the darkness of his room, Kalen finally slid the chip into his slate. No login prompt, no password. Just a single file, activation, echo core. He tapped it. The lights dimmed, the slate vibrated once, then twice. Then a message appeared in plain white text. "Are you ready to remember?" Kalen hesitated. Then tapped, "Yes." The room filled with sound, low hums, pulses, fractured voices layered atop each other. His vision blurred, muscles tensed without command. He doubled over, not from pain, but recognition. Images slammed into his thoughts. Not memories. Instincts. Running through fire without burning, turning into a room before hearing the explosion, reaching for a weapon before the enemy raised theirs. And one face, always half-lit. Not his. But almost. The same shape. The same reflexes. The same smile. A warning. Or a promise. Then blackness. When he opened his eyes again, his slate was dead. The chip had melted. And someone was knocking at his door. The figure on the other side wasn't an instructor. It was Thrin. But not in cadet uniform. His bioluminescent skin dimmed to nearly invisible, eyes locked in full dilation. "I don't have long," Thrin whispered. "The command net went dark 5 minutes ago. They've sealed the defense dome." "Why?" "Because something's coming." Kalen stepped back. "Coming from where?" Thrin pulled up a holomap on his wrist plate. It showed the orbital ring above the Academy. One of the old automated defense stations was glowing red. "No one's used that ring in 1,000 years, Thrin said, "until you activated it." Kalen stared. "I didn't touch it." "No," Thrin said, "but something did. Something that thinks you're part of it." They both turned as the emergency alarm began to sound, not the training one, the real one, low, sustained, no variation. External approach. Unidentified object inbound. Estimated impact, 14 minutes. Across the Academy, cadets scrambled for orders, but none came. All comms routed to the Chancellor's tower, and then cut off completely. The instructors locked down key halls and shifted everyone to shelter locations. Except Kalen. And the drone? Mirror had disappeared from its dock. Sovalek was the first to notice. Then the second alert chimed. Security breach. Inner ring. Access code accepted. Variant core. He stared at the screen. Where is he going? Another instructor demanded. Sovalik didn't answer. He already knew. Kalen stood inside the original scanning ring, the same one where he'd caught the first kick. Only now, the room was empty. The scanner was offline, the systems dark. Except for the center, where Mirror hovered, pulsing. Kalen stepped in. The ring lit up. Above him, the ancient defense ring locked into planetary targeting. It wasn't a weapon. It was a beacon. A signal burst fired into orbit, a compressed data package only one kind of machine could interpret. And in the black between stars, something heard it. Kalen felt the atmosphere shift before anyone else did. The weight of pressure, like gravity redistributing. Then the arrival. It didn't crash. It landed, quietly, as if it had always known the landing pad's shape. The object was smooth, featureless, the size of a small ship, but clearly not built for transport. No windows, no engines, and no life signs. It just sat there, waiting. Security drones refused to approach it. Adaptive systems glitched out, but Mirror floated forward, and the ship responded. A doorway peeled open. Inside, a single chamber glowed, lined with mirrors, each one angled toward a central pedestal. On it, a sphere hovered in place, dormant, until Kalen entered. The mirrors lit up, but not with reflections, with echoes. Each mirror showed a version of him, different age, different attire, different environments, one in armor, one in robes, one sprinting through flames. All of them turned to look at him, and nodded, then vanished. The sphere dropped into his hands. It was warm, alive. Mirror hovered behind him, and from its speaker came a final message. You are not alone. You are not the first, but you are the return. The pedestal opened, revealing a deep socket, sphere-shaped. Kalen placed it inside. The mirrors realigned, the room vibrated. Data streamed from the ship into the Academy's networks, not code, but history. Not instructions, but memories. Thousands of years of conflict, patterns of motion. Reflex algorithms evolved across battlefields no species remembered, all originating from one core signature: human. Back on the Academy's command deck, systems crashed and rebooted. Consoles now displayed new designations. Mirror core active reintegration process initiated. Adaptive drone behavior reset. Human variant classified. Prior technological origin. The Chancellor stood frozen. You mean to say humans didn't evolve this? No, Sovalek whispered. We did. Someone did. Long before Earth was mapped. He turned to the screen, watching Kalen walk out of the alien ship. The humans we know today, they're not the beginning of the story. They're what's left of it. When Kalen returned to the Academy grounds, everything had changed. Cadets still stared. Instructors still whispered. But now, it wasn't fear. It was reverence. His file now displayed a new classification. Human Variant Mirror Echo Class. Status: non-simulable. Access: unrestricted. Combat note: do not engage instinctively. Kalen didn't ask for the new rank. He didn't want command. He just wanted answers. And now, the Academy had them too. The scanners, once unable to register him, now displayed a single message when he entered any room. Echo confirmed. Weeks later, life resumed. Training, lectures, patrols. Kalen still ran the drills. Still kept quiet. But when the next batch of cadets arrived, he noticed the change, a new reflex indexing protocol. And next to it, a name. Mirror pattern calibration, Earthborn typing. He smiled. Not because he was proud, but because it meant the mystery was no longer buried. He wasn't the first, but he made sure he wouldn't be the last.